Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of my podcast. I'm really happy to have you here today, and I also want to thank a couple of people who've recently left me reviews on Apple Podcasts. I've been checking constantly because I always do, and it had been a while since I had gotten some reviews or new star ratings. And in the last episode, I think, or maybe the one before, I had asked if you had a minute, if you wouldn't mind doing that. And I did get a few new ones that it was like a noticeable difference because I really hadn't gotten any in a while. And then I got a handful, which was super exciting because it really does help with where my show appears when people are looking for a show like this. And I am really trying so hard to grow this podcast. So one person wrote, thank you, Lola. Amazing homemaking podcast. That was from HBRE 1995. And then I also got another one on October 23rd from, it's like 5 S's and 2 D's. And it said, encouraging, not extreme. I just recently found this podcast and already got some great tips. So I was so excited. Whoever left those, if you are listening, thank you so much. And for those of you who haven't had a minute to leave a review yet, if you have the time, I would appreciate it so much. It really is so helpful, and I do really check every day to see if I got a new review because it just really does signal to the podcast app that people are listening to the show and are taking the time to leave a review. So it'll offer it up to more listeners. Okay, so anyway, no more about that. I just do want to say thank you so much, and thank you if you go ahead and leave one in the future because it's super helpful to me. So today I wanted to talk about comparing ourselves to others because usually when you hear about comparing yourself to other, it's in a negative way. And it's usually about, how comparison can make you maybe do things that you might not want to do, like get yourself in debt because you want to have certain things that other people have that you don't have. Or it can make you feel bad about yourself because you feel like some people have a better situation than you do. Maybe you feel like you're not getting things done but you see other people getting things done, and how are they managing it, and how are their kids so well behaved, and how is their house so clean, and all of these types of things that we can kind of make ourselves feel bad about because we're comparing how we're doing to how other people are doing. And it's definitely true that those things can make you feel bad if you're constantly comparing yourself to those that you think are doing better or have it better than you do. But the other day I was listening to a podcast. I think might be Habits and Home. I don't know if I'm saying the name of that show right. I think it's Habits and Home. But anyway, the show, I just kind of recently started listening to it, and the host of the show was talking about some like her process of deep cleaning. And she had mentioned in the show that in a previous episode, she had mentioned that she probably does a good deep cleaning of her home 4 times a year. And then in this episode that I was listening to, she's like, how I mentioned that I do a deep cleaning of my home about 4 times a year, and then she says, you know what, I was thinking about that, and that's really not true. Like maybe ideally in her mind, that's what she thought she was doing or would like to be doing. But she goes, in reality, I'm probably deep cleaning my home 2 times a year. Once at, maybe spring and maybe once in the winter or whatever. But the point was just that, I thought, okay, I don't feel so bad because that's probably what I'm doing. If that, I don't know if I deep clean my home enough. But her point was that it's not her priority. Her priority is to spend time with her family and with her children. And if she deep cleans her home twice a year, awesome. If she doesn't, awesome too. Like just do it when you can or when you want to. Obviously, we all want to have a certain level of cleanliness in our homes, but if you can have like a really awesome day out with your family and you come home and there's like some dog hair along the edge of the wall because you didn't get to sweep this week or whenever you did it, it's like, does it really matter? Does it really matter? Like if it's bothering you, then just go grab a broom and sweep it real quick. Like it's not like everything has to be perfectly the way that some people say or think they should be. And it made me think that by me listening to her and hearing her say that, it made me feel so good, because I was like, okay, I'm kind of like in line with her. I mean, I do clean a lot. I mean, I do. But it's not like my main priority. And when I say a lot, and now that I think of it, I'm like, I probably don't clean a lot. I do clean. I mean, every morning I make sure that the dishes are done and the kitchen is straightened up, the counters are wiped down. I always make sure once a week I do like a good cleaning of the bathrooms. And I'll run like a robot vacuum when I remember. I'll sweep the kitchen floor if I notice it needs it. So just like everybody, I spend a decent amount of time cleaning, but I'm not going to give up everything else that's important to get the house the way that I think it should be, or what I think other people think it should be. So when comparing in that way, that would be a negative thing, like saying, oh, well, everyone's like, I should clean this much, or have my house this look this way, or be this spotless. Or I remember one time I was getting my hair cut, and I heard one of the hairdressers talk about how she mops her floor every single day. And I was just like, oh my gosh, am I supposed to mop my floor every day? Because I can't even remember the last time I mopped my floor. I do mop it occasionally. Like, we have hardwood floors primarily in our house, except for we have tile in our kitchen. But like, I sweep the floors, and if I see like something on the floor, I'll like kind of spot clean it. But I'm not like mopping the floors like that super regularly, especially definitely not once a day. But I was thinking, oh, wow, like, am I doing everything all wrong? But then when I listened to this other podcast, someone who's doing things similar to me, it made me feel good. Like, okay, there's other people that are doing things similar to the way that I'm doing, and I can relate to that. And that made me feel like, okay, I'm not the only one who's doing things this way, and it's totally okay. So where the one form of comparing in the hair salon with the woman that was mopping every single day made me feel bad, or make me think I was doing things wrong, when I listened to someone who was doing things similar to the way I was, it made me feel really good and relatable to her, the way she was doing things. So I was thinking about comparison again because of that. And I thought, maybe there are good ways to compare, and we don't always have to think we shouldn't or never want to compare ourselves to others, because often, you always hear you should never compare yourself to others, be your own self, do your own thing. And while, yes, I do agree in certain instances, if you're constantly comparing to those that you think are better than you or doing it the right way and you're not, that can definitely be not a good thing. But if you can look out for people that are similar to you and doing things the way that you are, it can kind of be helpful to compare to you, because it can make you feel like you're doing things okay and you can relate to them, and it can kind of make you feel good. Because I remember when I heard her say that, yeah, no, I'm not really doing it 4 times a year, probably more like 2. It just kind of made me laugh, because I thought like, okay, that sounds very realistic. And, that's probably about what I'm doing. If that, sometimes, I don't even know if I'm always doing that, depending on the year, depending on how crazy things are, but I do the best that I can. And I do always try and improve. It's not like I'm saying find like the lowest common denominator and just kind of relate with that. But this person that I was listening to, she was acknowledging how she's doing things, and she is always trying to improve and get better at things. But she was more focused on like what is most important to her in her life right now. So by comparing how I'm doing things to her, it kind of made me feel good, because I'm like, well, yeah, that's what I'm doing too. I'm trying to prioritize what's most important to me right now, and an absolutely spotless home is not my priority at this time in life, and I hope it will never be. Like, I mean, I like to have a presentable home. It's not like I want to live in like a filthy house or something, but it's not like my priority that like no one could ever find like a speck of dust in my house. My priority is to enjoy the things that are most important to me in life. So by comparing myself to others that have those same ideas, it just kind of helps reinforce that value that you have. And I think that's why we listen to podcasts that are relatable to us, people that are trying to do the same types of things we are, or watch YouTube channels of people that are trying to do similar things to we are. If we're trying to keep our homes organized, or meal plan, or do certain things, we're going to look for people that are kind of in the same similar situation to us. We're not going to look for someone who's doing it like way above where we want to be at. I mean, we might, but like, I feel like we're probably going to wind up falling into the ones that are more relatable to our lifestyle. So in that way, I think that comparison can be a good thing. It's just that we want to watch how we're comparing ourselves and making sure we're not looking at those people who we feel are exceeding way above what we're doing. And then it's okay if we look at those people. I mean, you can look at someone like that and be like, wow, that's great. That's awesome for them. That's what they love and that's what they're doing. And there's no problem with that. But if you're looking at them and you're starting to feel like, well, how do they have that? Or why do they have that? How come I don't have that? That's when it can become something negative. So as long as you can watch yourself and make sure that you're not doing that, and if you are, to maybe stop following or watching or comparing yourself to those individuals, and try and find some people that are more relatable to the values that you have and what's most important to you in your life right now, and try and compare more to those people and use it more as being relatable and kind of feeling good that you're kind of both in the same place and you're both trying to manage whatever that balance is that you're trying to work at. Because that's what I feel like was most relatable to me. She was saying, it's not like super important for me to get every single thing deep cleaned, because I'd rather take that time and spend it with my kids. And, I think that when we try to compare ourselves to people that seem like they have everything, or that, they do everything just perfectly, you kind of have to think like, well, what's the rest of the picture? Is that what they're doing with all of their time? Maybe they don't have other things to do that we have to do. You don't really know the whole picture. So just comparing in that way, where you're putting yourself down, that's where we want to not do that and avoid that situation. But comparing yourself to others that are in a similar situation and are trying to do the same types of things that you do, I really think can be a good thing, and it can really help us figure out the best ways that others are doing the same types of things that we're trying to do. That's how we learn, by listening to how others are accomplishing the things that we're also trying to accomplish. So I hope this was helpful to you. This was just something I was kind of thinking about a lot lately, ever since I heard that podcast episode, and I thought it'd be good to just kind of talk about it. So just think about how you're comparing, and if you are doing some of that negative comparison and kind of putting yourself down, just try to see if you can find some people that are more relatable to what's important to you and what your priorities are, and compare yourself to how they're doing things and try and learn from them and get that feeling of being relatable and kind of making yourself feel good about what you're doing when you can find people that are doing it similar to you, and being happy about that. So that's it for today. Thank you so much for listening. Again, please, if you wouldn't mind leaving a rating, and if you have the time, a review of the podcast, I would really, really appreciate it. And that's it. I will see you here next week. So thank you for checking in for this podcast episode. And don't forget, you can always email me with any questions or suggestions at lolasfrugallife@gmail.com. You can follow me on Instagram and Facebook at lolasfrugallife. And you can find a blog post for most of my episodes, and definitely all of my meal plan episodes, at lolasfrugallife.com. You can also join our private listeners group at facebook.com/groups/lolasfrugallife. And if you enjoy the show, please make sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you listen from. And I would love it if you would screenshot the show and tag me on Instagram so I could see you're listening. Also, if you can please take a couple of seconds to rate and review the podcast. Those ratings and reviews are what help the show come up better in search results so that other people can find this podcast. So that will really help me in growing my audience. So that's it for today. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you have an awesome day.